everybody. Welcome back to Rev 22. I have my best favorite person here today. One of Sean and I's really great friends, Larry Wood. Larry and I, if you're new to this channel, we did a conference back in May, Billionaire Boot Camp, and we wrote a book together, Rise of the Kingdom Billion. Remember this, Larry?
Yes.
You remember this book? You and I like slaved over this.
Well, it was, that was such a great thing. But Lauren, it's so awesome to be on your channel, and it was fun to catch up a little bit before. But I'm really excited to talk about what we're talking about, and I appreciate you. That was a fun challenge to write a book together, and it went very well. It was interesting.
Quick tip about that, because a lot of people don't know, is you and I before that never met. And
Right.
the Lord just kind of, it was like a God connection. And the Lord just, we had the like same views, like the same downloads. You were talking about Kim Clement's DINAR, which you wrote a book about that, by the way, which was really, really good. And I said something about that on my YouTube channel, and your book started selling. And so then we just wrote a book together. We're like, hey, let's see how this goes. You write, I write, see if it matches. We blindly wrote different things and it matched. Our editor matched it. And then we ended up doing Billionaire Boot Camp together. So it was super fun, super prophetic. And honestly, it's aging really well. It's aging well.
I'm super happy. I'm going to brag about you a little bit because when people go self-published, um, I just learned last week what a successful self-published book is. Do you know that only 10% of books that are self-published, without a big publisher, sell over 1,000 copies? And our book just hit that. I mean,
Really?
yeah, we're like right there. And so that means that not only 10% of the authors, but 10% of total books, no matter, some people, can sell 50,000 books. But I really, I think it was really good to do that with you. And it's fun just to catch up. And we have different flavors, but we
Yeah.
have the same perspectives. And you know what I think is great too is even if we don't have exactly the same view, we agree to try to understand each other. And I think that that's so important, because it's just, so much of Christendom these days is like, oh my word, you have a different eschatological view than I do, so therefore I can't fellowship with you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I love the emphasis that you have, and I love your passion. And I'm just gonna I want to let you tell, and you might move this, but I just have to tell your viewers that it was really fun to get to know you and Sean, and your boys are so great. But I rented, kind of cut loose, got a really nice cabin. Wasn't that a nice cabin we
It
stayed
was
at?
the best. Like I
It,
would, yes, it was so good.
Literally one of the best rentals I've ever got. It was kind of off season. It was a good deal, but still is really expensive. And I remember sitting in that beautiful kitchen one night, and as we're having conversation with you and Sean, and for whatever reason, you guys, Lauren decided to show us what's cooking inside her head on crypto. She unleashed, and my brother and I still talk about, can you believe how much Lauren Atkinson knows about crypto? Our minds were just like, oh my word. I mean, you were just going brrr, and I don't have any deep level of sophistication, but I and my brother were so amazed at what you think about, and the things the high level thoughts that you're having, the attention that you have, and just what you care about. I wouldn't say you have more passion than me about the wealth transfer, but your level of expertise in crypto is just, I couldn't even believe it. So I just have to tell people she is the real deal, and it's fun to know you. But what's interesting is we don't call each other up, and um, I feel comfortable enough that I could ask you. And I know that actually, I do know that other channels call you up and ask you what to do. But we both are following as God is leading us. And you occasionally ask me stuff, and I love to comment. But your expertise in crypto is amazing. So
Oh yeah, they'll call me up privately, and then I'll give them my private answer out of compassion, and then they will throw me under that bus the moment that they can, and I'll be like, "Are you serious? You just called to ask me advice."
yeah, yeah.
Okay, forgive them, love them. It's all good.
Well, My brother and I are big fans of your crypto insight, and so and I like your other team members that you guys stole from Longview too. So he was kind of a friend. I knew your other his other half better, but anyway, what do you want to talk about today? I'm excited, Lauren.
Well, I asked you on because you, first of all, we haven't done these in a while. And I watch your videos, of course, just because you have, okay, because this is reminds me of our relationship. So from time to time, guys, Larry will tell me like different books he's reading and he'll recommend some things and I'll buy them. I like to read almost like a book a week, book every 2 weeks if it's big. But you recommended this one, The Tribe of Millionaires. And as I was reading this, I was like, this is exactly why the Lord partnered us up, why I have and you have the same downloads about having a community and why it's so important to be around people that know more than you. Iron sharpens iron, and just have that community. And I was watching one of your videos learning from you, and you were cracking me up about your hate and dislike for the trust conversation. You were talking about trust and how people were talking about when they get rich and they're going to get really, really rich and then they're not going to have to worry about it. They're just going to give it to a broker or a trust or whatever. And you were just going off and I was cracking up because if you don't have a tribe, if you don't have people that know something about either they've already made wealth like yourself, you've already, you've done the real estate thing, you've lost money, you've gained money,
But
you've
you know,
done,
Lauren,
you won't
I
know.
I didn't have the ability to figure out how to make all this money, which I made in real estate by myself. I had to run with
That's it.
people and I
That's
had
it.
to find people, and I spent a lot of money. I spent tens of thousands of dollars to be able to hang out with people who then very graciously helped me. And I want to say, I'm becoming, even though I've been on your mentoring, your Patreon group. I've been there, I think, twice. But I think it's such a great idea. And I think the value that you extend is so good. My wife and I just went to be mentored essentially by Corey Russell.
Yeah.
And the event was not expensive, but it wasn't super intimate because there was so many hundreds of people there that I know Corey and I got to talk to him a little bit. But you know, you sharing him with 700 people, I got to talk to him for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
You know myself, but I think that what you're doing is what people need to do. You need to run with people who have high levels of expertise. You know, when you see a turtle on a fence post, you know one thing. That turtle didn't get there by himself.
Mhm.
And I'm fortunate that I've done so well in self-storage and with my little apartment complexes, even though there's sometimes a pain in the butt, but we'll talk about that. But I didn't get there by myself, and we're not going to get there individually when we can, you know, grasp wisdom from other people, but especially as people come into money, they need to learn from other people who are running the same way with the same heart.
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit because that was my segue into what you were talking about in your video about these trusts and okay, so the dinar. All right, so the big question is that when the dinar hits, everyone's kind of looking around this time frame of if you're invested in it, that you're going to have this surplus that you didn't have pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And there's this theme going around that they're just going to put it in some trusts, they're going to give it to some brokers, but you had found deep in Kim Clement's prophecy how he already warned, don't trust anybody with the wealth transfer that's come to you. So what were you saying about that? Because I've heard a little bit about that too, the trust
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Well, it would be about as wise as you know how on your when people watch your videos and there's these people that go, "Oh, I love Lauren Atkinson. I love stewarding the wealth transfers videos, but I found these 12 words and I don't know what they mean. Can you help me understand what they mean?" You know,
The
that's how
key seed
smart.
phrases for their wallets.
Yeah, yeah. That's how smart it is for but believe me, there's literally thousands and tens of thousands of patriots who are sucked into this idea that somehow literally I believe it's a form of brainwashing. How, how in the world what would you say, Lauren, to somebody who said I some YouTube personality said I need to steward your 12 seed phrases. You know,
No,
you've got Yeah.
No, punch him in the
Why
face.
not? Why wouldn't you do that? What if they're really godly people?
I don't know. Because here's the point, Larry. The point of the wealth transfer is to steward your own wealth and finally get out of the corruption that we've been under. It just defeats the purpose.
Well, I totally agree with you, but there are so many people who have given the money. I mean, when I learned that they've given the money away. They've mailed it to the brokers. And then I have people say, Larry, how do I know that these dinar are real? How do I know these Vietnamese dong are real? And I have a black light and I've messed around with it. You can grok it and learn what the things are. And my money is all legit from the places that I've talked about buying it. But then these people have the nightmare, Lauren, that they've mailed, their 3 million or their 10 million dinar to this other company. Well, how do we know that all the dinar that they've got? So they aren't keeping it in a separate envelope. They're putting it wherever they want to put it. And then they said, well, I can request it back. Well, you're not going to get what you gave. And what if they give you what they are worried about? And so it's just, but I think it's like a warning that Kim gave. And I want to make sure people understand I'm not against a trust in general because it's a legal option to create ownership and separation, and it's a tax strategy and it's protection. I mean, there are some people, this is a weird question, but it happens so frequently. It's so sad. Very successful couples thrive, they have children, one of them dies, then that person gets remarried, and then it splits man, you got a really good looking landscape guy out there that's messing
The
up our
funny thing
video.
is the moment that I want to record, my husband likes to do yard work, happens every time. He knows that we are conversating, but he doesn't. It's like his favorite pastime.
Well, I want to make the point that I really believe that trusts are a great thing. Separation. Um, I have three LLCs, one for my self-storage, one for my apartment complex, and one for a big piece of land and other smaller pieces of land that I have. And then I literally just started another LLC. I usually start them because they cost money in Washington State. Every year you have to re-register them. So I always start them the first business day of the year. So January 2nd or 3rd, whatever the day it will be, I will start this new LLC because I don't want to pay for 2025 when I can, you have to pay the same rate whether you use it for one day or 1 year. So I'll start at the beginning of the year, um, and then I think it's smart. So, but I control those things, and I am giving my eldest son access to sign on the banks because when my mom passed this year, it was a nightmare. My mom did not give me access directly to her. I had indirect access to her bank account through electronically, but there was not a Bank of America in our town, and it was really complicated. And so I'm just saying, practically, people are not wise if they don't control their own money.
What would be the one or two reasons, because we've talked about this before, that anybody needs a trust? Why would someone need a trust? And
Well,
also, I just want to tell you that I'm also seeing now a lot of push on YouTube, a lot of these tax people and just finance people who are wanting to make money off of other people telling you why you need a trust for tax purposes. And I do not agree with that whatsoever.
well, you have two boys. I don't know if you talk about them, but
I
what
do.
are their ages? What are their
So we
ages?
have 15 and 12.
It would be smart for you to have a trust in case something happened to you and or your husband. Then with your portfolio, it would be moved on to them in the way that you want them to be. I'm going to just tell you an interesting thing that's related to that. I've been meeting with my attorney, and I'm not trying to brag, but that's part of the story, and you can cut out what you want to. But she goes, I'm not qualified to handle your estate. It's got too many zeros, and I don't do that. That's not my specialty. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to decline. And then I didn't want to pay some big highfalutin firm in a big city 10 grand just to do the same things that she could do. And I'm going to just quickly say, I ended up going back to her and say, you know what? I want you to do this. And here's what I want to do. I, I only have two kids. My daughter's not very interested in my business stuff. My son lives in another area, but he is very passionate about real estate, and so I want my son to be the executor for my businesses, and I want my daughter to be the executor for my houses. And what one of the unfortunate things why a trust could be really important is sometimes a couple they one of them dies and then they get remarried, and then the spouse has all this money. I mean, so say this isn't our numbers, but say Tracy and I are worth 10 million, and say I died, and so I give, or one of us dies, so the whole 10 million, unless you are intentional, all goes to the one spouse. And if that spouse remarries a much younger person, Tracy goes out and gets some hunk of a guy that's only 40 years old that's going to outlive her, then my kids don't get any money. And that's why you want a trust,
But that's
so
the
that
only reason, but not for like your crypto wealth or your dinar wealth. Like,
no, because all the rich people that I know want to control their wealth. They don't want their
yeah,
wealth controlled. And I don't think it's biblical. So that's what I was railing against. Do not give control. Don't give your seed
like
phrases
there's
away.
just small
Don't
reasons why you would need a trust. Like,
Yeah, yeah. But I do think it's smart to have entities, and separation. So I have my apartments separate from my self storage. So in case one of them got sued, I theoretically can't lose both. So I think, and I'm going to just say, I think for every $5 million you should probably have another entity. I mean, that's just my general thing,
like
and I
another
think you start.
LLC.
Yeah, yeah. And I think as you approach a million in assets, you need to move toward one. And then when you get to 5 million, and you will, then you move to another one. At a certain point, these are all legal theories that different people would have different opinions, but I feel better having separated, but I also don't want 100. I mean, if God blesses me and we become a billionaires, and I literally believe that we're going to know many Christian billionaires. But I don't want 100 LLCs. It's just too much to manage. But I'm happy with I'm moving into 4 next year.
Wow, that's good. All right, I'm going to play this from your channel the other day. Let me set this up. So you're talking about a watch for scams. We're going to go into Brandon Biggs's dream that you pointed out, and then I want you to tell me and everybody what specific scams are you talking about, and then I'll come right back. All right. So let me go to that.
You want to hold on to stuff. When prudent people are warning you, you should be warned. Kim Clement is a prudent person who not only foresaw and prophesied with one of the biggest voices about the wealth transfer, he's yelling in his dinar prophecies, don't be taken advantage of by the brokers. Hold on to your dinar. Don't give it away. Don't be stupid. And you're going, well, Larry, why? I mean, it's just simpler for me. It's just like, that's the way I want to do it. Well, you remember Brandon Biggs' rug pull and all these people, he does a good, he's kind of sitting in a Christmas lodge setting as he tells the story, and he sees all these people, I think, at a Christmas party, and they're celebrating their winnings of the dinar.
They were all celebrating reinstatement of the Iraqi dinar because it went up in value. And they were standing on a beautiful, thick, I'm talking thick rug. And all of them were gathered on this thick Persian rug. And they were all talking and celebrating, rejoicing over the fact that they have a now windfall of money. The news broadcast was very perplexed and upset. I could see it on her face, like she was very concerned. As the Dow Jones on the ticker and all this stuff was just falling. All of a sudden, everybody in the room that had invested in and had a windfall with the dinar lost everything. They were standing on the Persian rug and they lost everything. It was like the rug was pulled out from underneath them. They were weeping on the rug. They didn't see.
I'll tell you who I think
All right, so I'm stopping it there. So, what do you think? Because you had a good argument that this pool and these people on the rug, what's your take on that? And what you were talking about with Kim Clements and the scam?
Yeah. Well, I believe it more than ever. And you know, there's always a little bit of truth for a good scam. You know, you learn that the longer you watch people. And you know what I believe, Lauren? I believe that the dinar could possibly change in value the longer that it's there. So what if somebody came to you and you know, Brandon, I think he hears really well. It's interesting to me how God allows people to not know some details. You get a lot of things from God, so do I. But even if we get it directly, it's hard to understand what to do. But what if, you know, Brandon basically said a while ago, he goes, I saw the dinar come in. It didn't come in for nearly as much as people thought. And, you know, there's people who are saying the dinar is going to come in at $7 or $8. But let me ask you this, Lauren, what if the dinar came in at $1.50 today? Would you, you know, for me, I'm going to take everything I can get at a $1.50 immediately with the current prices of XRP and the current prices of silver.
Yeah.
I'm so happy about that. And then other people, and I think they're very simplistic, and I don't want to make them feel bad, but I want to make them think. And so there's no way I would want to take $7 probable dinar in 2 months because of the financial catastrophes that I believe are coming, you know. And so I think Chris Reeves's prophecy of dollar devaluation, as well as Barry Wunsch in Canada and numerous others, I think those things are happening. And, you know, it's just an interesting question of what do we do with strategy? Because as an investor for, you know, 35 years, I've been investing. I hardly ever hit it perfect. And you just can't feel bad when you don't hit it perfect. And so I want to get past the dinar. And I think we'll have a week or two when probably silver will still be reasonably priced, you know, and
I like
maybe
what you said. You said go to the banks, not some redemption center that's offering you, 10% here. We'll give you this, but when it revalues even further later on down the road, we'll give you the 90% or something. It's
right.
the scam. And
Well,
what you're dealing with, would you not agree, is greed. You're
that,
greed.
that's how a Ponzi scheme works.
Yeah.
You know, people, you know, a normal person, like, you know, there's banks you can look online and my adult children were doing this. Like, you know, you can get 4.5% right now on, you know, maybe some credit union on the East Coast or whatever. But then there's other places that are offering annuities at 8 or 9%. Well, those are not legitimate investments. Those are promises that get your attention and they're going to rip you off. And, you know, when you have investments, if you can hit 100x or 500x, don't worry that you didn't hit 1,000. You
Right.
know, I mean, take it and move to the next thing,
That's what I
and
say. Take the
and
money.
yeah, and distribute it into real things. And you know, maybe you pull off a little bit. What is your perspective? I think, I'll answer it to a degree. There's some things I'm just not going to sell. I'm such a firm believer in XRP over the long haul. I just think I just don't want to sell any XRP, but I do have a few, you know, maybe some people call them meme coins. I think they're very prophetic, and these are not kind of my only investments that Kim Clement doesn't specify, but I believe that Lunk and Shib will be things that so many people have had insight. I believe the people. And so I have, you know, fairly significant money in that. But I'm not going to feel all bad. I think the same thing. Some people have had outrageous views of what SHIB might go to. If I get 10 cents or 25 cents per SHIB and I'm able to buy XRP for $3 or $4, I'm going to be so happy. I won't even, I don't care that I could get a whole dollar for SHIB or whatever, I
No,
mean,
and we talk about this often on Patreon because then also too, you're dealing with liquidity problems. So, if everybody is sitting on $1 trillion in these meme coins, the likelihood of them all getting out is slim to zero. So, you have to just take what it is that you can take when you can take it and be done with it and walk away, regardless if it's at $1 or Luna went to $1. If it went even to like, even if it just dropped 2 zeros, get out. You've got so much capital that you could, like you said, put in XRP. I don't care if XRP is $3. Oh, it's $3.50. What does that matter when it goes all the way to 1,000, 1,500? It doesn't matter. The price,
right.
it's at $3, right?
Well, yeah. And, an interesting thing is I'm 62. Um, Silver hasn't been a good investment except for 1 year out of my life. Really, the last year it's been an amazing investment. I've been buying it for a few years when it wasn't a good deal, but I don't want to end up with a bunch of silver post wealth transfer. And
Right.
and
Oh,
I'm
that's
gonna
the point.
and I think I made this point in the book that we wrote together, but I may have fully understood this after we wrote it together. Um, I think that the wealth transfer with the 8 wells is going to be complete in 1 year. And then there's going to be a 3 more year period of the wealth transfer where the wind of God is going to be at our back. And I had a very prophetic friend who's told me, he goes, Larry, I had a dream about the Fortune 500, you know, it's 500 of the biggest companies in America. He goes, and you maybe have seen this. It was a friend was talking about it, so he might have had the dream, or he might have been referencing a dream, candidly. But he said 98% of those companies are going to either not exist or the ownership is going to change. God showed me, and
Wow.
I think God is calling us. Lauren, it's an unusual person that has the faith to believe that God's going to take them to 1,000x increase in their net worth. That's not rational, but it's very kingdom. And this is we're in a very unique time. And some people don't believe that that could happen. And so for them, it probably is impossible. But it's going to be very unique, the people that have faith, and they're going to make maneuvers that only people of faith would do. And I literally believe the bigger the portfolio somebody traditionally has in a stock, in a Wall Street based asset, I don't think very many people who have a 7-digit Wall Street portfolio are going to be participants in the wealth transfer, because what we believe doesn't make any sense to them.
Well, no, it's
But
not logical. It doesn't mathematically.
yeah, yeah. And so that's exactly what I think. But I think that, so I want to get out of silver almost as soon as I can. And even though I love XRP, it's just my thing. And I just wanted to mention that, and I'm curious what your position is. But before the end of the wealth transfer, which I'm going to say, the way I understand it, it's going to last for 4 years. And before the 4 years are over, I want to be with 50% of my wealth in something I can see. And
That's good.
what percentage of assets do you want in? How are you going to diverse? Like
Okay.
Ecclesiastes talks about 7 or 8
I'm so
different
glad you brought
ways.
up the silver thing and you asked me this because I have the same take on as you because that big beautiful piece of property that we bought. Well, I bought it mainly with a down payment of the silver that I had collected over time, and all of us have to make our own decisions. But I collected that so I could make real world purchases, right?
Right.
And like you said, the goal is not to just hold it forever and just put it in the safe and stare at it, because you're right, it's just a shiny piece of metal that it does have value, but it has value to be able to use on real world assets. And so that's my opinion. So it's a good store of value. I think you agree with
Right.
that. It is increasing in value. But you don't want a whole bunch of hunk of metal just bolted up in your house that does nothing to produce anything with. And so at some point you have to make the decision to unload it and let it go, and
Yeah.
redistribute. Or, like you were saying earlier with the cryptocurrencies, I think that's the best way to make the most money with little effort, with less labor. And that's a great well. But you also have to, also with those, learn when to liquidate and start buying real world things that you can touch, that businesses, people can come in and exchange with,
Yeah.
and real estate.
Well, it's an interesting thing because I was moaning to Lauren because many people have been here now to lunch at Larry's and saw a tour of the storage facility in the little apartment complex I built, 42 units. And I was complaining to Lauren that today I had to get up at 7. Well, I get up way earlier, but I had to leave at 7 to go do a repair on a storage, one of my most expensive units, that there was a problem with the lock, and it was because it's an older door and it's kind of my fault, but they did it wrong and I had to fix it because they're paying me over $300 a month for this unit. And so I was out of town when they had the problem and my manager called. So it's a problem to have physical things. Storage is great, 300 days, 360 days a year, 5 days a year. It's a big pain in the butt. Apartments are a pain in the butt. But I knew a guy who was a Bitcoin multimillionaire, and it was so great when it was great. But then when it crashed, relative last year, like if he was able to hold on to it. But um, crypto is the easiest way to be super rich. But I couldn't sleep at night if everything was only in crypto. But I'm loaded up. Uh, Interestingly, outside of a normal way, I would do things because of my faith and what God's revealed about the wealth transfer. But I don't want to be restricted to this 8 wells on the other side of this. It wouldn't be prudent. So I want to unwind it. But I think that's where you need to have skillful friends and learn from each other. And people in your group some are going to do great and some are not going to do very well. But it's so important because I do believe that God will speak to you. But sometimes you need to hear and have encouragement from somebody like Lauren. So like I was saying earlier, I didn't get to where I was in real estate by my own wisdom, even though I've read so many books on it. It's
Yeah.
because I was running with other people who had similar goals. And I think that's a crucial part. So I really think it's awesome what you do. And I'm excited to help you if I think you're going to let me come to your meeting in,
Yes, and
in,
I'm glad you
in
brought
May.
that up because I am actively pursuing. It's funny because when you did you hosted the first one, it was in May, and then I'm going to do the same here in May, and you're going to come out. But you had told me, you were like, you know, just forewarned that when you start looking at venues, it's just going to be a headache, and it already has. It's been such a headache. One venue will not respond back to us. A few of them weren't good enough, and then I think we finally have a deal. So we have one. I think it's going to be set in stone here soon, and it's going to be. You're going to come over here, Larry. You're going to come from the West Coast over in my neck
I'm
of.
excited. I'm
Yep, and we're
excited.
going to have it in the South. We're going to have it in Gulf Shores, Perdo Key area. I think is where this hotel is. So right after Orange Beach, it's Perdo Key, Orange Beach, Gulf Shores. But this is kind of like you and I, we do different things, but we collaborate together when we do these. You do your own conferences. You've done
Mhm.
or are about to do one, I think in January, you're going to have something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we do different things, but the whole point is to come together, like you were saying, and just be with other people. Like some may do well, some won't do well, but you can learn from different experiences. Maybe you can learn from someone that did well and you didn't do well and what you did wrong, or vice versa. You could be in the seat of teaching someone, hey, this is how I did it, this is where you're struggling. That was in this book, you know? It's
Well, you know what that book was about? It was a secular view of amazing discipleship. And
yeah,
that's exactly what I received from the Builder 20 group from the National Home Builders. And I just want to tell you this tension. Now, this is not critical at all, but I just flew back to a conference. It was under $100 to attend the conference. It was on prayer, had fantastic worship. It had amazing speakers, but the room was so crowded because it was absolutely as full as it could be. You got no real one-on-one time. They couldn't even pray for you at the altars because there were 700 people in the room, and the altar space would hold under 100 people. So they really didn't even push. They pushed coming forward, but they didn't have anybody to pray for you.
Right.
So what I'm not criticizing, because it was an amazing experience, but it wasn't, I would say, and I'm not trying to be critical, but I'm saying it wasn't discipleship. It was an amazing experience, but was it discipleship? Because it really wasn't educational. It was experiential. And I was very motivated, but I really want to disciple people. I want to do life with people. And I think that your Patreon is a great thing in that regard, the more I think about it. And so I will tell you
We're a
this.
great family. We are a great family. We would look after each other. And the most of them, some of them are boot camp members, that
Yeah.
that you'll see again in May. And
Right.
I'm so excited, Larry, to see all of them again. You know how we were like at tables, they were like round tables.
Are you going to do that, or are you
Yes,
going to
I'm going to do round
okay,
tables. I'm
good.
going to make sure they're round tables, because when you're just sitting like this, you don't get to know anybody.
Right.
When we were at the round tables, it was so personal. We were hugging each other's necks. It was just precious, you know?
There are so many people who are still texting each other multiple days per week. There's some new, unique, close friends, and that's, Lauren, what I think that we need. We need that. That's really what unity looks like. That's John 17, and we're not the same, but we're going the same direction. And we need to learn how to make money, but we need to learn how to give money. We need to learn how to be family, because everybody comes from different baggage with their family, and resources gives you the opportunity to not have to work. And many people are going to go from having to work so often, and then people like you are going to have the challenge of, okay, I have so much money now, I don't need to do anything, but what does God need me to do?
Yeah.
It's not what and so it's really a weird thing that where we need to bounce that off each other. How do we do this? How do
I
we
love how
navigate?
you said at the beginning of that YouTube video. I'll put it down below, guys, if you guys want to see the YouTube video, keep referencing to. But you were saying everybody just thinks that they're going to be rich, 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 and then that's it. And they're just going to go live their best life now in the Caribbean. And you're like, that's not how any of this works. And I'm laughing because that's what we're talking about in Patreon. That's not how any of this works.
Right.
You've got to know how to steward. You've got to have a tribe. You have to have a community. It's difficult. Creating wealth is not very hard, in my opinion. It is.
You're totally right.
It's keeping it that's so hard,
And and the other thing is that keeping the rest of your life improving while the money that you work so hard to get doesn't ruin your life.
Yeah.
People chasing money ruins their life, and they lose their families.
Well,
I mean,
it becomes
the
their
world.
purpose, and money's never your purpose. It's just a
Yeah.
tool. Well, I want to ask you one more thing because I'm keeping you a long time. I could talk to you forever. But I do want to ask your opinion on this brand new thing about this 50-year mortgage that Trump is going to. Can I just give you my opinion real quick? And it's short. I really believe that Trump knows we're going off a cliff. And I saw this coming before he was even elected, that in my opinion, we've talked about this. We have a little bit of a different view, but that they were going to drop the economic crisis on his head. It was coming whether he got in or not. Like it was
Right.
It was coming. But now that, fine, y'all want him, you're going to get him, but we're going to blame it on him. We're going to blame this economic crisis, this explosion of the economy. We're going to blame it on him. And I believe that he knows it's coming. And so he's doing everything he can. Stimulus checks, he's talked about. 50-year mortgage now. He's trying to back us in gold and cryptocurrency, being the capital of the world. So while he's getting hate on this 50-year mortgage, I'm thinking it's not so bad. So what is your take?
I think that Trump loves to shine the spotlight on people. I don't know if you remember, before he chose the head of the Treasury was Besant, or however you say his name. he actually said, I'm considering Jamie Dimon, who I think is total cabal, the head of the head of
JP Morgan Chase.
yeah, JP Morgan. And so I think that Trump is giving somebody who wants to do what's good for the not wants to do what is not good for the American people enough rope to hang themselves. I think Trump just said, "What do you think of this idea?" And I don't think that he think it's not a good idea. I guarantee it's not a good idea, and I don't believe that God thinks it's a good idea. I have one question though that I want to talk about because I think you guys might be here. When you do have this huge liquidity event, what percentage of your wealth is it prudent to buy something? I'm not presenting this very well, but my wife and I are considering, we feel like we need to move closer to our grandkids. And you got to come to our house. It's a neat house. I built it. We
I
love
love
it.
it.
There's a few
Mhm.
things that we would probably like to be a little bit different. I don't really want to go build 2 hours from here where I don't have the network that I do here. So my wife and I have made the decision that we're going to purchase a second home by the middle of next summer. And so she would like to buy a lot, but I'm thinking about it in terms of the wealth transfer. Is it, should we wait until all the prices go down like crazy? And I don't think that we need to always be super shrewd. I think sometimes there's emotional reward for getting what we would really like, even though there's all these beautiful homes in this Tacoma area where we're looking at. It's going to be hard for us to get the right home in the right place. It's close to where my kids live and then got reasonable travel to the airport and all these factors that we want. And I think we're just going to splurge and get the best deal that we can. But I have no doubt that through 2026, real estate prices are going to continue to drop. So, in my opinion, up to 10%. Here's my two ratios, and you push back on it and then you can let them go. I don't think somebody should spend more than 10% if they're wealthy, more than 10% of their wealth transfer funds on their house. But I don't think it's bad if you don't have that. But I wouldn't say that you're super wealthy. You know, if your house is 100% of your, I think God's going to bless people so much that that's a general rule. And then I don't think that they want to spend more than 10% of their wealth transfer at times on things that are not really at the right time, I guess. And so I think your computer just died.
No,
So,
hold on. It's there we go.
okay. So anyway, what do you think? What's your ratios about that? I don't like to talk about specific numbers, but I think that ratios are things that people can compare. It's not that it's right or wrong. It's just what are you
I
comfortable
guess
with?
I don't honestly, that's yet to be determined because I really don't know. And
Yeah.
those are the type of questions, honestly, guys, these are kind of the questions that I would be calling up Larry, going, Larry, what's your opinion? Because I don't think we can really make those decisions for me. Because you know why, Larry? Because someone like me, who's like this visionary dreamer builder, like we've talked about this 9,000 square foot um, um, southern, charm home that I wanted to build to turn into a wedding venue. And those big dreams and visions for me, they have to make sense if I'm going to
Yeah.
build it. Like, is it a home or is it a business? Like, which is it? Because if it's a home and you're building something that extravagant, then it's a money pit, and all it's going to do is just suck. It's not going to produce anything. But if there's a way that you can make it make sense, why not build it? But I don't know. I think we'll just have to wait to see what comes in and where we're at. That's a good
And
question.
And that's why I think that everybody is going to have a different opinion, and it's good to have different opinions. But what's interesting is I would have said 6 months ago, well, you should wait until, real estate is really fallen, and that would be the wise thing to do. But now we've got this challenge where we want to be closer to our grandkids. We know we've only got 12 years to really have an impact on the grandkids. Time's ticking away. My wife's going, hey, we could get that house right now. We'd have to use debt, but let's just do it right now. And so there's a compromise in the middle. And I think that during the dinar, I'm not going to buy 5 houses, but I probably will buy one.
Yeah.
A nice
Would
one.
you buy 5 houses if it was making you money, if they all cash flowed? Like, would you make it a business or you just don't want to deal with the headache?
No, I'm going to answer that, and you can add or whatever, Lauren. Oh, I'm going to say two things. Sorry, you can adjust this. I think the smartest money that I want to get rid of my silver on is the most flexible and most in demand investment there is are family homes, affordable family homes. Builders across the country. I just flew to Colorado. I'm seeing all these unfinished lots in these new subdivisions that are affordable. Affordable, unfortunately, now is like
Yeah.
475,000 in many places. That's not truly affordable. I think that we'll easily see those homes fall to less than half that price. And that would be one of the things that I would want to buy. And I'd like to buy a bunch of them at one time. But I'm going to tell you one of the things the Lord is, I believe it has revealed to me. And I think many of the people that are watching your channel are going to relate with this. In the Old Testament, when God talks about the blessings for his people, he goes, you're not going to be borrowers, you're going to be lenders.
Yeah.
And one of the smartest things, and I think you will even be able to explain it better, but smart contracts on
Yep.
crypto, there's going to be ways that we can lend money to people. And I'm not going to lend to people who I don't know their character, but I'm going to lend a lot of money to people if all these $500,000 houses. I really like to have new houses because for the first 10 or 15 years, there's not that many problems with them.
Right.
And you still have to do maintenance, but it's not that big a deal. And I want to help a lot of people who are high character people to be able to buy homes for 200,000, and then I get a percentage of the equity and I get part of the rent, but they're also making money too, because I feel like we're going to have so much money we're not going to know what to do. But if I say, "Hey, I'm going to let you buy 10 houses for 200,000 that were 500,000,
Mhm.
and you can keep half the rent for running it or whatever, but then maybe I get half the profit later." I don't know what the deal would
Like
be,
a
but
shared governance type of thing.
yeah, it would be a way that I'm making cash flow, but I've got enormous equity, but I'm helping somebody else really get a start in life. So if they were able to buy 10 homes and then they were able to sell those for 500,000, I would get half the money and they would have half the money, which would be a huge start. So I think, don't forget, it's not been a smart thing to do to lend money of your own money. But I think on the other side, when we have solid currency, we don't have such an inflationary environment. I think God is going to direct many people to be lenders, because it's not bad if it's an asset that's worth having. I personally don't want to borrow more late in life, but I think that I've met other people who are called to be lenders
Yeah.
in godly ways. So just
Well,
interesting.
these are definitely conversations for Billionaire Boot Camp in May.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for letting me be your guest and keep in touch. And I can't wait for May. So give me the refined dates, and we'll definitely look forward to coming there.
Yep. As soon as I have it solidified in with them, I will let everyone know. I'll let you know as well. And tell Tracy I said hello.
All
Let
right.
her know that massage chair that she let my husband use in the guest bedroom, he never gets out of it at the house now.
Uh,
You tell her that thing was like, he came home to Georgia and bought himself one. Guys, Larry has a massage chair in his guest room for his guest, okay? And so my husband found this massage chair, wouldn't get out of it, didn't leave it. We got home to Georgia, bought himself one, and he hasn't got out of it since. So thanks, Tracy.
Well, I think
Larry.
that Sean guy deserves all the back massages he can get. And if his wife isn't willing to give him one and the chair is, I think that's a great trade, because he works hard out there making your house look great.
Oh, he
So
does. Y'all saw him out here, hanging the Christmas lights while me and Larry are talking. So he does deserve it.
I did. So I'll bug you next month and I'll have you come on my show in December. So have a great one, and I'll see you later, Lauren.
Bye. See ya.
Bye.